It's a sad day for car guys. Um, I'm Randy. Welcome to Tucson, Arizona. From 1988 to 1998, Jeremy Clarkson was a presenter for Top Gear. And then in 2002, the show came back after being canceled in 2000. And from '02 to 2015, he was the host of Top Gear. And from '02 to '15, he was co-hosted by Richard Hammond, and then from '03 to '15 by James May. In 2015, Clarkson got into an altercation with the producer and punched him. And because of that and some other general just jackassery, because Clarkson's awesome, people there didn't like him and decided not to renew his contract, therefore firing him. They wanted to fire him. It was easier to just wait out his contract, which was almost up. As boss ass boys, Hammond and May decided not to take all the money they were trying to throw at him and decided they were leaving too. So in 2015, the world saw the end of the biggest TV show on the planet. Had more numbers than the Super Bowl every episode. Like every episode was televised worldwide. It has fans worldwide. So they went on to Amazon and in 2016 started the Grand Tour. And from 2016 until sadly today, Friday the 13th, September 2024, they aired their final episode, their final special, and they rode off into the sunset. As a car guy, I'm freaking bummed. And as a grown man, not going to lie, I cried for the last probably 15 minutes of the episode today. Like that was rough. So the show was, I know it, Top Gear started in '02. I think I started watching it about '03. And I came home from school one day. My dad had it on, and we started watching it together. As a teenager, my dad and I are a lot alike in a lot of ways. So we're both stubborn and like thick-headed and, kind of dumb. So we talked about cars. We fought about almost everything else, but we talked about cars. When it came to cars, I was trying to learn about cars. I was trying to absorb information about cars. So we talked about cars. We bonded over cars. It was the one thing that we could talk about without arguing, because we're both Chevy guys. We like old cars. We don't like anything with a bunch of computers and all that. So we have the same taste in cars. So we were able to bond over that. And Top Gear wound up being a show that we could bond over. We were able to bond over a few other shows, like some Smallville at the time was a big thing, so we'd bond over that too. We'd watch that every week, but there wasn't a lot for us when I was like 14, like that angsty, grumpy, I know everything age. But this was one of them. So this show has been a big deal to me from the first time I ever saw it. Like, I remember watching Hammond drive that insane jet car and almost die. And I remember being super freaked out and bummed about that. And I'm super thankful he didn't die. So I've been there for the show for all these amazing moments. And the show's been there for me in a lot of dark spots in my world. And I know not everyone is going to be able to relate to this show, but I think everyone has that show for them, whatever it is. Like, if you're my age, I knew a lot of people that Buffy was their show. The more modern version would be like Supernatural, or the Harry Potter books or the Harry Potter movies. Like, there's always something that people are able to gravitate towards to help get them through dark times. And Top Gear and the Grand Tour are some of those things for me. Like, I've gone to bed at night after a rough day, put on an old Top Gear special or a Grand Tour episode, and slept like a baby. It was like having good friends tell a story to comfort you to sleep. You know, so having all of these years of experiences, I feel like it's just a really big chapter in the book of my life closing. And I know that based on what I've seen on the internet, a lot of other people are feeling the same way. Like there feels like there's a hole left behind in my comfort blanket. Just a sad day for car guys. Sad day for people who enjoyed that kind of entertainment. In my house, every time we have a big get together, birthday party, graduation, celebration of some kind, I put a Top Gear or Grand Tour special on the TV. Even if I just mute it, I put it on and just let it play in the background. And that way when people are eating or whatever, they can sit there. You're not, generally speaking in my house, people aren't talking a lot while they're eating. So they've got something to kind of watch. And some people some people in my house, that come to my house for all these parties only ever see the show because they're at my house. Like they don't watch it on their own, which is, a bummer, but hey, to each his own. But I've got friends that are only familiar with the show because of me. And I was talking to some friends tonight where my wife and I were hanging out with some friends that have only ever watched the show at my house. So they know I love it, but they don't understand it. So I was like, hey, I got to take off, got to go home, got to watch this final episode. And they're like, oh man, that kind of sucks. Last one, I was like, yeah, like I'm going to cry. And they were like, what? For real? I was like, yeah, I'm for sure going to cry. Like I expected, and I'm a little sad that it didn't happen, but I was expecting like a speech at the end of the episode. And I get it. Like the guys were trying to keep it lighthearted and trying to end the way they wanted to end it and be stoic. Like Clarkson unplugs his mic, like, and then just shakes their hands. Like you can tell, like that was pretty powerful. And blending clips of their very first special in with their very last special, like that was beautiful. Like, and it was a beautiful moment when they said, hey, yeah, this finishes the episode, but let's finish the tour back where it all started, like at the special where the first special was filmed. That was a pretty big deal. And it's really cool knowing that Hammond owns that Opel Kadett Oliver from that very first special that they did, and that he got to end at the very first special. And it was cool seeing the Mercedes and the Lancia that the other guys had abandoned there from their first special. It was cool getting the inside information that May kept the hood ornament, or he kept the badge from the Mercedes he drove in his first special. And then it was hilarious that Clarkson kept the headlight from the Lancia he drove in his first special, and he took it back with him to put in the car. Like that was funny. But I was really hoping that they'd give like a thank you, like a 2-minute thank you speech or something. Just kind of, thanks for riding along with us for all these years. I am extremely sad about it all, but I'm also comforted by the fact that Clarkson still has Clarkson's farm, and he's making big changes for the insane way that the council rules in that part of Britain for farmers. I love that he's really bringing awareness to the way farmers are treated. I wish it translated and had America taking care of their farmers better and making a difference. I don't think that it is, unfortunately, but I'm really happy to see that the farmers are starting to get noticed. And changes are coming into play because a gorilla showed up and decided he wanted to learn how to run his farm. So that's really cool. And May still has his own shows, and Hammond still has his own shows. So it's nice to be able to still watch these familiar faces and enjoy their humor, but it's not going to be the same. So I know that my house is still going to be filled with their shows. I'm still going to be playing their episodes for every family get together at my house. It's still going to be the background entertainment for everybody when they're wanting to just sit back and watch TV and have some tacos. But it's a bummer. Like, it really is. I'm going to miss them. I hope they understand that they've affected a lot of lives. I would be willing to bet that there's a lot of engineers in the automobile industry right now because of their work on Top Gear. Like, I would bet money that there's a lot of people out there making cool things happen, and maybe not just in the big company world, but in private businesses and guys running their own wet jets and CNC machines, designing parts, and they got that hunger and they got that drive from these three men. Like, I think the world is going to be a little bit dimmer not having them in their show, but I hope that they're successful with whatever they do. But I know for car guys like me, we're going to be freaking bummed for a long time that the show is over, that the ride is over. I wish they had a couple more years. I think that if they hadn't have been forced out of Top Gear, I don't think they'd be retired yet. I think that they might have stopped the specials. I think they might have been like, hey guys, Clarkson hasn't been eating a good diet and staying away from the beer, so he's a little out of shape for a guy in his early 60s. But we're done doing specials. We just want to do our normal show. And I think that they would still be doing it because Amazon brought them over and did an amazing job. Like, I love what Amazon did with them. It's probably the only show I've ever seen on Amazon that's an Amazon special that I think they did well. And I think that they did the right thing, letting people do what they needed to do. Because I think, like, Reacher is trash. Lord of the Rings, freaking Ring of Power is garbage. But I think that if they hadn't have forced Clarkson out and let the other two leave, I think if they would have stayed, things would have gone differently, and they would have realized what they would be missing out on. I think if they would have convinced the three guys to stay and continue doing what they wanted to do, I think we would have still seen something very similar to the Grand Tour. I think they still probably would have gotten away with a lot of the fun things that they did. I think they still would have had the same ideas because it was still Andy Willman along with the three. Like, it was still the four guys at Top Gear and Grand Tour coming up with all the ideas. So I think the show would still be going on, and I wish it was. Because Amazon only ran 3 seasons of the tent platform and then got rid of it and only made it specials. And I think and that's what burned the guys out. They said, like, we're just too old for this. Clarkson is still farming. Like, he's still being active. He's still beating himself up and zapping himself with electric fences and stuff. I think that and the other two are still working too. They still got shows. James May still has O Cook and Our Man In series. I know Hammond still has a few British TV shows that he's hosting. So, like, I think they would have stayed in the game if it wasn't for the rough specials. I think if they had done something different with their specials that didn't abuse them so badly, they might have. Like, I don't know. I wish someone would have come up with some ideas to keep them. But, c'est la vie, Oh, it's all fresh. I wanted to talk about it. Um, I wanted to share my raw thoughts, even though they're not very articulate. I kind of wanted to put this down on video, just to get it out there, because it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I loved seeing the throwbacks to the classics. Like the boat. you know, Talking about making cars into boats, boats into cars. They've done it. So putting cars on boats and going across water, I think it was a beautiful homage to um, all the times that they tried to, that they built the toy boda, and they did that on, they did the amphibious car on Top Gear and Grand Tour. So I thought it was really cool nod, like tip of the hat, like, hey, remember all these fun things we did? And then when they were coming up against the train tracks, I was like, oh man, the trains, the Clarkson Expressway and the commuter car, and then the poor guy in the back of the car, getting the banana thrown in. Like it was a fun moment to like relive some of the best moments, turning cars into trains, turning cars into boats. I thought it was really cool. And then sending the car they all come together to hate, the Volkswagen Beetle, and launching that off of a mountain. That was awesome. Like, just seeing them, you could tell that it was hard for each of them individually. Like, there were a couple of times you could tell that they were getting ready to break down. Um, like I did just a little while ago watching the show. It it was rough. Like I said, I wish they would have done a couple of minutes of saying goodbye, but they did it their way, and I wish them nothing but the best. And I cannot wait to watch more Clarkson's Farm, and I can't wait to see what the guys do with the rest of their careers. And I hope that they continue their podcast together, because they've got their YouTube channel. I hope they continue talking to each other. I know that James May was joking about deleting their numbers. You don't leave the BBC when they're ready to back the money truck up for you. You don't leave that to be with your friends just to turn around and delete their numbers. I think it was a fun joke, and I think it was funny, but I don't believe it. I think that those three built something special, and I think they're all aware of it. And if they're not, they certainly should be, because they've touched a lot of lives, and I think they've built a lot of careers. Not just the people that are currently working at BBC or Amazon. I think that they very much directly yet indirectly created careers. Like a big part of my passion for cars came from them, came from watching their show and watching them talk about cars and drive cars and play with cars and break cars. Like, a big part of the reason I love Toyota pickups is Back to the Future, and then freaking Top Gear. Like, it's the reason the Hilux is the coolest truck ever. They proved it can't be killed. And I wish I could get my hands on one of those trucks, but unfortunately America is kind of dumb when it comes to importing vehicles, and it's really difficult to get a proper import. But anyways, that was a quick rundown of how I feel about the best car show, the two best car shows created, ran by the same three guys, coming to an end. Like, it's an end of an era. It really is. We're never going to see another car show like that. I mean, even the guys over at Roadkill and all of the offshoots of the Roadkill channel. So, I mean, there's a lot of those different shows now. And even the YouTubers that came from Roadkill, I mean, they all got into this because of Top Gear. Like, Top Gear started all of this. And we just watched what gave us our love and our passion. I mean, it's not on camera, but I mean, I've got car parts all over the freaking place. I got big block headers over there. I mean, I've got carbs in here. I've got at least 2 cabinets over here, just car parts. Like, you know, I got animals named after these guys. Like, my bird inside is Clarkson, and his lady friend is Lisa. So, like, it's the end of an era, and these guys affected a lot of lives, and I hope that someone's able to make that clear to them, and I hope that someone's able to let them know that we're grateful for what they did, and we're grateful for the entertainment and the information and the years of beating themselves up just for us. So thank you 3 for being who you were, and bringing us what you could bring us, and putting it all on the line for the love of cars, and for sharing that love with the world. So yeah, just a crazy rant, but you know, this is big, and this was big for me, and it's a bummer. I'm really gonna, like, I think, like, even my kid, so like my kids, my oldest walked by halfway through this show, and I reminded him, "This is the last one, dude." And he was like, okay, I don't want to watch it from the middle. No spoilers, don't tell me anything. He's like, "This is really sad." He's like, "It's really sad that this is the last one." I was like, "Yeah, it is." So my 19-year-old son, like, he grew up on this. His entire life, I've been watching this show, and we watch it on repeat. We've sat down and just done marathons whenever I, like in the wintertime when I take a bunch of time off work, like for vacation. We sat around doing marathons of the show. Like, in my house, it's a big show. It's an important show. And for him to be like, "No, I can't hop in halfway." Like, man, it's really sad that this is the end. I'm like, "Yep. Yes, it is, buddy." So hopefully other people who are fans of the show hear this, and I hope that something I said resonated, and hopefully people who get it see this, because I'm just sharing my sadness with the world freshly after watching the show. So thank you for hanging out if you did. And hopefully tomorrow I'll make some fun videos that are not dour and sad, and have me just kind of rambling on about nonsense in a show that a big part of the world doesn't know about or doesn't care about. So thank you for watching. I'm Randy. This has been Tucson, Arizona. Have a good night.